Hey there, YouTube. What follows is a review of Milwaukee's brand new M12 soldering iron, part number 2488-21. Now, Milwaukee's brand new offering runs on standard M12 batteries, and in this case came in a hard blow molded case with a single 2 amp hour battery and a charger. For the purposes of this review, I will be comparing it to the Weller P2KC butane soldering iron. Basically, we're going to see how easy it is to change the tips and how long it takes both soldering irons to heat and join two pieces of 12 AWG audio cable. How does Milwaukee claim the M12 soldering iron performs? Well, have a look for yourselves. Here is how the Milwaukee M12 soldering iron compares against the P2KC on paper. Below the P2KC, you'll see the PSI 100K numbers, and the PSI 100K is identical to Snap-on's butane soldering iron kit. You'll see the boxes shaded in orange are best in class. Remember, you can pause the video here to absorb this information a little better. Now, a straight up numbers comparison between the Milwaukee M12 soldering iron and the Portasol butane offerings doesn't really tell the whole story. With butane, you're going to reach higher temperatures, which allows you to effectively use your soldering iron as a hot knife and a heat gun. Where the Milwaukee theoretically shines is in replacing your corded soldering irons and, for the most part, your soldering gun. It also can be used in applications where you're concerned about the flammability of the butane. Our solder: 1/16 inch, 0.75 ounce, 21 grams, rosin core, 97% tin, 2.75% copper, 0.25% silver. Awesome for bigger wires. Awesome for smaller wires and for crimping in general. Unboxing. Ta-da! One tip change coming up. Now you might be asking yourselves, why is there WD-40 on the table? Well, for the life of me, I could not get this retaining nut off until I sprayed it with some penetrating oil. Now while we're at it, we might as well look at a couple other features. First of all, the pivoting head. So you've got 90 degrees, you've got about 135 degrees, or 45 degrees, depending on how you're looking at it. And you've got 180 degrees. I also added some penetrating oil to this joint because when it first came out of the package, it just didn't operate very smoothly. It wasn't bad, you know, it wasn't junknesium, but it just wasn't that, you know, that typical Milwaukee feel. But when I gave it a squirt of the penetrating oil, it's now operating smoothly. And in terms of the power operation, the switch is right here, and it goes in and locks up. It's kind of like if you've ever used a Milwaukee angle grinder. You know, it just kind of goes in and then locks up, which is not a bad design, except for when I disengage for some reason, I occasionally seem to pinch my finger, but that could just be the design of my finger. Anyway, the indicator lights here, when they're green, that means you're ready to go in terms of it's fully powered up. And when it's red, when the tool is shut off, that means that it's not ready to go back into your toolbox. The tip is still hot. Now the Portasol. And the Portasol wins the tip change contest, but in both cases, it's about as simple as it gets. Now for the main event, the heat up and solder joint contest. Alright, we changed the wire gauge to 16. Now we're just making our connections, then we'll be ready to solder. First up, the Portasol. And now the Milwaukee. So there you have it. In this competition, at least, the Milwaukee came in at 1 minute and 10 seconds to complete a soldered joint, while the Portasol P2C or P2KC, if you get it in the kit, came in at 1 minute and 20 seconds. Now granted, this competition was highly unscientific. In all likelihood, I did not use the same amount of solder to complete both joints, nor did I put a particularly strong effort into making the joints. So the key takeaway here is that you're likely to get comparable performance from both soldering irons, and it's going to take you about the same amount of time to make a joint. My takeaways for the Milwaukee M12 soldering iron are, first of all, I really like the grip. It conforms perfectly to my hand. Secondly, I can see getting a lot of benefit out of the pivoting head. Taking it from a pen to an angled iron all the way to basically a gun. Another thing I liked about the kit was that it came with two very useful tips. First, this flat-bladed tip, and then the pointed tip that you saw me change out. Lastly, this indicator light is a great feature. Knowing when the iron is cooled down enough to be put away is something that I see a lot of value in. Now the Portasol, on the other hand, in terms of how light it is and how small it is, it's really irreplaceable for certain applications. This is the only soldering tip that it comes with, but you can order other size tips, and they're not that expensive. So would I purchase the Milwaukee M12 soldering iron? Absolutely, for applications where I would otherwise be using a soldering gun or a corded iron. Now you might be wondering what happened to the Weller soldering gun. Well, there was a technical disqualification. For some reason, the gun would just not get hot enough to create the soldered joint. I'm not exactly sure what was going on. I've never had a problem with the gun before. Anyway, that's my review for the Milwaukee M12 soldering iron. And thanks for watching, and have a great day.